Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. And we are live today with Sammie Walker Herrera, who is a university career coach, University of Florida, right?
Yes.
Well, thank you for joining us today, Sammie. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I do apologize for some of the construction noises you may or may not hear. Our ballroom is being renovated.
Well, it's COVID life, so kids, animals, screaming noises, anything in the background is totally
Then I'll make sure to unleash the hounds.
All right, be careful. This is a veteran offense here. That is, that phrase can get people really pumped up. But no, thanks for joining us today. I'm really excited to talk to you because when I started this series, I never thought about a university career coach. And when I saw that you had signed up, I was like, ooh, this could be exciting. So I guess, can you talk a little bit about your background? What led you to being a career coach?
Yeah. So what originally led me into the field of career services was my undergraduate experience. I actually worked as a career peer mentor or student employee for Carnegie Mellon's Career and Professional Development Center for about 3 years. Mm-hmm. It was a really active role. It wasn't just, okay, review a resume here, okay, staff the front desk for 8 hours this week. There was some of those pieces as well, but it was a lot of active giving workshops in first-year residence halls to really engage early. Students a lot earlier in things such as, more than just resumes, but also informational interviewing, networking, what can you be doing during your winter break period, for example, and then searching for jobs and internships as well. And so that was my first experience with career services, which really motivated me to study higher education as a career path. So I went into my master's directly at Slippery Rock University, and actually didn't even specialize in career services there. I started working in diversity and inclusion, which also included, as I mentioned to you when we were chatting, 1 year as a graduate assistant for the Student Veterans of America, as well as for the Student Organization of Latinos, Hispanics, and Allies. So very diverse experiences with students coming from all across the nation, or even adult learners as well. So from those experiences, I still worked in diversity and inclusion for a while in the Pittsburgh area, and just recently transitioned to my role in college career services at the University of Florida in March, right when the pandemic hit. I was working remote for about 3 months right at the start.
So that made it easy to kind of transition right in, right?
Definitely, yeah, awesome. It was like, okay, this is great. Definitely, there was as much ambiguity for me as everyone else. So it was that nice to have that even playing field, that kind of horizontal leadership for a second, but definitely amazing support. And all of our programming right now is actually virtual, so a lot of great experience being able to educate in this way, both like live like this and asynchronously as well.
And that's what I was going to say, is that I think that the pandemic forced us to change the way we act, and you could touch more people virtually than you can ever do in person.
100%. Yeah, so my role within the Career Connection Center is as a career coach, but it's specifically for students in the College of Agricultural and Life Sciences. As Florida is a huge agricultural state, I'm actually able to engage students all across the state at different research and education centers. And so even if I met with a student yesterday, she was in Alabama, and we were able to connect because she was an online student. So just at that amazing reach has been awesome, especially for students who don't have access to that in-person experience or not sure that the resources here are for them as well.
Have you had to change the way that you interact going virtual, or is it pretty much the same on just with a camera and a microphone?
Honestly, it's pretty similar for sure. Definitely some things like resume reviews. I'm not like writing on the document for them, right? So it's being a lot more explicit about be sure to be taking notes, be sure to open the links that I send you so that you have some more access. So sometimes it's just not making more of those assumptions and making sure that you create like that structure for folks to get the most out of that session and feel as comfortable as possible. I do think the most entertaining career session I had with a student was they were driving. And I was reviewing their personal statement for law school. And so I was just reading it aloud to them and then providing suggestions as we went. And then I sent them an email later with the content for that. So that was definitely very unstructured. I wasn't quite used to it, but a lot of it was navigating and just trying to be as adaptable as possible.
Well, that's exciting. And I'll tell you, I'm assuming you've had to have talks with people about how to do virtual meetings.
Mhm.
virtual interviews, checking your lighting, sound, backgrounds. I had one once where a college student signed on first, thank God. I looked over their shoulder and there was something on their wall that had no business being on that wall for a group session.
Oh, no.
And I was like, whoa, hold on. Hey, guy, look over your shoulder. See that? You got to take that down. And he was like, oh, my God. And so I'm assuming there's a lot of opportunities for you to coach people up on that as well. Is that true?
Yes. So direct coaching opportunities and indirect opportunities. So for example, indirectly, if I'm meeting with someone about another topic, right? We're talking about how to optimize their LinkedIn. I can still let them know, hey, in the future, it'd be good for us to meet at your desk instead of you sitting in your bed, right? Not in a shaming way, but also to mention that, these are professional relationships. That's really important. And to make sure that it's not something they get so used to that they do make an accident or have a slip up with their environment, kind of as you mentioned about that other student. And then directly, for example, I think 2 months ago, I hosted 18 mock interviews in 2 weeks. It was a lot. And so most of the feedback I gave to students was, okay, make sure you sit at the edge of your seat so your back is as straight as possible. Let's talk about your lighting. Let's talk about what's in your background, right?
Totally changed mine. Look at that.
Right? No, you look way more confident. You look really in the moment. And that's how I try to work with students, is talk about, okay, how do I make sure you're in the moment as much as possible? Because a big part of interviewing is that that body language piece, and that's so altered with being on camera.
Oh my God. Can I tell you that I hated how I looked like I was sitting in my chair because I was sitting all the way back. You just changed the way I'm doing all these interviews from now on. So thank you. I vote for Sammie. Sign up wherever you can. Huge difference. So thank you. So let's shift. And I'm going to throw a banner up here for people, what questions they have for you. But let's talk about it. So you are a career coach for a university.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your day like?
Yeah. So even thinking about what my week looks like, right?
Mhm.
Often I'll have days where those are my career planning days. Those are the days where I have one-on-one appointments with students. And these usually for me are Mondays, Thursdays, and then a little bit on Wednesdays as well. So as I mentioned, I work specifically with students in the College of Agricultural and Life Sciences. So those are the only students who are able to apply for slots to meet with me specifically. And so I'll have those times to meet with students, and then I'll also make sure I have time later in that day to be able to include some of the comments, right? Some of the things that we talked about, some of those counseling notes is what we call them. Often I also at least have one outreach or workshop a week. And so that either is from a professor or a department chair to talk about a specific workshop in the classroom setting, or it's a request from a student organization to have it be professional development programming for either undergraduate and often a lot more graduate student organizations as well. And so these can be after hours, right, after 5 p.m., or they can be in the middle of the day, depending when the student organizations meet. So that tends to be a big part of my role, is encouraging folks to set these outreaches and then also doing the outreaches. And we have a lot of common topics for folks to reach out to. How do you understand your strengths, resume covers and letters on LinkedIn, job and internship strategies. But honestly, about half of the ones that I give presentations for are customized. So one presentation I gave in December was, what can I do with my plant science major? So we talked about that for graduate students, and I had to pull a lot of very specific content to make sure that it really addressed what they were doing. As I mentioned, again, ag and life sciences, that's actually not my academic background. My academic background is in psychology, Hispanic studies, adult cognitive development, counseling. And so the way I learn about ag and life sciences is from the students themselves. So I do follow some newsletters. I do try to follow different webinars to get a better sense, but coaching is about asking smart questions, helping the students take the lead. And at the end, often students thank me for asking them about their experience instead of making assumptions and then telling them what to do.
I have so many questions. I'm so sorry. I'm so interested in this. So, okay. The plant sciences one. So you just did research, talked to people, and built a class on advising them what they could do with their degree?
So one thing I did is I had a consultation with the students who were the leaders of the plant science organization. And so we talked about, okay, what do you need? What do you want to focus on? And I already had a couple of resources I was thinking about ahead of time that I demoed with them to see, does this make sense? How do we want to talk about this? What would help students the most. Oh, you have undergraduates coming in as well. Okay, let's make sure we talk about, let's give a disclaimer to mention, like, we're going to be mainly talking about grad students, but this also applies to them, right? So it's a lot of co-creating that knowledge and pulling even the things that they already know about so that I can present it all together, and so that it really is absorbed by students. It's not just something that I assume they want. It's something that we made together.
No, I mean, it's fantastic. How many hours did it take you to create that class? Not ballpark, I mean, obviously.
Ballpark. Honestly, well, I mean, it's funny. A lot of it was a demo, right? So I think the main part was just having that consultation with students. And then we do already have like slide decks created, which have our branding, which is super convenient. So I think it took me about 2 to 3 hours.
Oh, that's not bad. Okay,
Yeah.
so I was thinking like putting together an entire class and all that, but now, okay, that's great. And you do the 2 to 3 hours so they don't have to. They can get it in a shorter period, and then if they want to build on it, they can build on it from there. And then you talked about the 3 days a week that you meet with one-on-ones on students. So what does a day look like? Like, is it 5 students? Is it 25 students? Is it 50 students? Are they single session? Or they're one-on-one? So, but I mean, like, how long is a typical session? That kind of stuff.
Yes. So all of our sessions are 30 minutes. On Mondays, last semester I had 8 on Mondays, 8 on Thursdays, and they would always be filled, and it was a lot. So now this year I have 6 and 6, which is a lot more balanced for sure. And so that's also even dictated by like what times work better for students, like via their scheduling. And also just, again, outreaching, letting folks know about services. The student I worked with yesterday didn't even know that she could set an appointment, and she's graduating as a senior this summer. And so it's just that continuous education about what we do and what we're not. So one thing that we like to say is that it's more than just our office is more than just resume reviews. And we even say that it's more than just a resume review. If we don't ask what you want to use it for, what are some of your goals? What are some of your strengths? What's your impact? And how do you measure that impact? Those questions lead to so many conversations about their fears, about things that they are looking forward to, apprehension because of COVID, or things that they do know or don't know about their industries. And so that really helps inform the types of workshops we put on. So I also put on workshops myself, not just requested ones, related to agricultural and life sciences. For example, we do have a couple of social sciences majors in our college, and so I'm co-hosting a presentation on what can I do with my social sciences degree. So it's really listening to what students need, how they not only answer surveys, but what they talk to us during these sessions, and then making sure I communicate well with my supervisor and the rest of the team to make sure if we're seeing some of those big trends, we record them in some way, but more than that, we take action on them.
No, I love it. I love it. So what goes into a prepping for a 30-minute one-on-one? Like, I'm assuming you don't just like prep meeting. Is 30 minutes enough to prep? Like, because I'll tell you 6 one-on-one, 30-minute one-on-ones with me for one day, and I'd be done. Like, stick a fork in me. I just don't. It's a lot, and I don't think people. At first, I was thinking, oh, 8 a day, 30 minutes. You still have the other 30 minutes every hour, and then I'm like, it takes time to recover, time to prep. Go to the bathroom sometime, all this other stuff. So what goes into prepping for one 30-minute session? And then what's that 30-minute session typically look like?
Yeah. So honestly, I usually have about 4 career planning appointments in a row. There's usually no break in between. And so what my prep looks like is the night before, I get an email from our system that lets me know who I'm meeting with and what their career planning notes are. So it's required for students to include like a sentence or a paragraph about what they are meeting for and what topic it is. So number 6 is resumes, cover letters, personal statements. So a 6 to me is like, okay, I'm reviewing some type of document. There's a screen share going on. Okay. If it's a 2, that might be that's strengths, that's values. Okay, we may be doing things with this career assessment. We may be just having a conversation for that. So even just knowing the type of appointment and what questions they have. And so prior to the day starting, I'll review those notes. And I'll open some tabs on my computer for what I think the direction will be, but I don't allow that to make that what my session is. I don't feel like, okay, well, this session's not successful unless I talk about our our career assessment webpage or something like that. And often I'm not even using half of the resources I already had prepped, but it is convenient when I have them there so I can share them with students.
No, that's fantastic. So 4 in a row, how much time do you think you spend prepping for those 4 sessions? I'm trying to get an idea of what your day is like. Is it the night before when you're doing the prepping, or can they do same day appointments?
Students can sign up 24 hours in advance.
Okay.
And so, for example, if it's Wednesday at 3 p.m. and I haven't had an appointment set on Thursday at 1 p.m., I'll just kind of delete when those appointment blocks are and then put in some other time for other work.
Okay, awesome. And then, so you spend some time prepping, obviously if it's the resume one, then, they're going to share their screen, you're going to review their stuff and give them advice. Would you say 30 minutes prep time, 15 minutes, an hour for each session, or are you just kind of getting into a groove?
Oh, I just get into it because I don't want to make too many assumptions. And also, when I came into the role, the first 3 months were a lot of training. And so I actually already knew how to review resumes, already knew how to review cover letters, already had that 3 years worth of training at my last institution, but it's still important to have a refresher and get a sense of, what is the cohesion, how do we have unity here at the University of Florida, the way we talk about career, the way we operationalize different things, right? And so having that training ahead of time is really helpful. And so that minimizes a lot of the prep I need in that moment. Additionally, sometimes I'll have the career planning notes, but I always ask students, hey, you sent in this career planning appointment maybe a week ago. I know things change over time, so I'm curious, what would you like to focus on? And I just let them start from the top.
No, that's fantastic. So you do one-on-ones several times a week. You have sessions with the grad students or professors. You hold your own workshops, to fill gaps that you see out there along the way. What else am I missing? Is that kind of like it sounds like a full week already. What else am I missing?
Yeah, so I do have meetings with our team. So I'm part of a team of career coaches that are embedded liaisons, which means we're embedded in specific colleges. So again, I'm at ag. We have a person for engineering, for education, for health and human performance, for example. So there's about 7 of us. So we have our team meetings and we have team projects that we work on as well. So for example, I'm on the planning team for our faculty and staff symposium that we're having 2 days this month. I'm also chair for our diversity committee. So I lead those meetings and we talk about some initiatives that we have to kind of teach about cultural competence or even just get to know each other a lot better as staff members and do better work based on our own identities. Another piece or something that we do is I work with employers as well. And so I'm a recruitment coach. And so I'll have one-on-one consultations with employers, especially those who tend to hire students in the College of Ag, to talk about, okay, do you want to host an information session? Are you interested in being part of these career fairs? Would you like me to share more information about the jobs and internships that are open? So there's also that kind of 3 parts: students, faculty and staff, and then employers.
I think you're going to have a lot of veterans reach out to you, saying, how do I do your job? It sounds incredible. So we've got some questions. So we had one. Lynn said, do you work often with veterans, military family members, and what challenge come with those clients in a university setting?
Yeah, so I've definitely worked with students from those fields, and especially because a lot of folks in the military connected are interested, at least here in Florida, in agriculture, in agricultural management, for example, is a popular major. Even environment, we have forestry, for example. So just a lot of opportunities for folks. So usually I can see from someone's experience from their resume. Often I imagine some folks don't even disclose that because, for example, because it's 30 minutes, it's a hyper-focused session. Often folks will just talk about their most pressing need and don't really have as much time or don't think it's relevant to talk about their full experience. But when I do recognize that someone is a veteran or military experience, we also talk about the strengths and skills that they've built, how to write out their experience and connect that, how to talk about that experience. And definitely, I feel like I work with a lot of folks who are military connected who are going toward graduate school. So how do you take that and put it into a story that really encapsulates what you understand your career potential to be and why that graduate program is going to be helpful?
Do you ever talk to them about choosing the right graduate program or the right degree path That maybe sometimes they're going after a certain degree because they think it's going to lead them one way, and they don't actually quite know that it leads them in a different direction? Or is it correct, or is it more focused on careers after, you're already in a career path, I'm going to help you find something afterwards?
Yeah, so usually if I'm working with someone, it's either they're kind of playing around with the idea of grad school or industry, so we kind of talk about it from that sense. Okay, what are your reasons? What makes the most sense? What are the next steps? Like, have you done your research about how that graduate degree will provide you support? And that's for folks who are non-military as well, right?
Yep.
But then often I'm working with folks who they're already writing their personal statements, they're already getting their letter of recommendation, they're already set in that path. And so getting a sense of, okay, what is their personal statement really saying about what they know about that research they should have been doing earlier. And so I'm able to check in on both of those spaces.
Awesome. So I've got a couple other questions.
Mm-hmm.
I saw one here. Does your office do or work with your co-op or intern outreach departments? He's thinking companies like, I don't know what ADM would be super interested in building talent pipelines with your students.
Yeah, so there are more and more co-ops that are connecting with the University of Florida. So we have a system called Gator Career Link. And so that's a system where students not only can set appointments with us, but they're able to also apply for jobs. We also connected, for example, USA Jobs and Employ Florida and a few other job boards on there as well. And so employers, when they connect with us, they can create a Gator Career Link account and include their internships and include their leadership development programs and include their co-ops as well. And so when they work with us as recruitment coaches, especially if they're doing an information session or they're really trying to promote their opportunities, we can do things like email blasts, or they can provide, they can pay a one-time fee to do a specific information session where we provide extra support. And so there's definitely a lot of employer connection here at the University of Florida, and a lot of repeat recruiters and even new folks every day, even during COVID, highlighting new opportunities, especially remote ones.
Yeah, no, that's, I could see that happening. Absolutely. We've got another good, Lynn's got another good question.
Yeah.
Sorry, something got me right there. I know. So do you find clients want multiple topics covered, and how do you facilitate that in a 30-minute session?
Yes, often yes, and so I can see that from the career planning notes. I would like to talk about my resume and my cover letter and my LinkedIn and this. So I'm like, okay. So usually I start the session and say, hey, you mentioned you wanted to talk about these various topics. What do you want to start off with first? I also even just make it very clear, hey, you want to talk about a lot of different things. We only have 30 minutes, so let's really focus on the highest priority. And, if we're not able to cover this all in time, that's all right. You can feel free to set another appointment next week. You can even, right after we meet, set that appointment for a couple weeks later so that we can check in on your progress. So we definitely see that quite a bit of students like wanting to kind of do all at once. And then when they're in the appointment, they realize, oh, this is why we couldn't do that all in that session. So it's not even that I have to be defensive or, oh, well, I do good work and it's not just 30 minutes. It's, they realize over time, okay, that the depth to which we're going and how it's individualized to me, it makes sense that yes, this will take a little bit more time. And it's more of that career journey than kind of a one and done, like my resume is reviewed, let me apply to Indeed now.
No, that's great. So we're at 24 minutes almost. I want to make sure we finish by 30. So for people that want to do what you do, what kind of advice would you give them?
That's a really great question. I do think looking into folks who are university career coaches and doing informational interviews is really important. So for example, here at the University of Florida, when we hire coaches, we actually highly prefer they've had an experience beforehand, but it doesn't have to have been as a career coach or in higher education. So we have a lot of folks who they did international education, they did K through 12, they were recruiters, they were project managers, they worked in industry before. And so just checking in and seeing, oh, is this a career center that's requiring a certain amount of experience beforehand? What types of experiences? Because even one thing I'm really grateful about at the University of Florida is when they onboard us, they purchase professional development certification program. So I'm certified as a certified career services provider through the National Career Development Association. And so associations like that, so it's NCDA, or NACE, for example, the National Association for Colleges and Employers. It's a really great place to check out, because there are folks in career centers that work exclusively in recruiting or work exclusively with employers. There's folks who in our center only work with students and only do workshops. And I'm kind of in the middle there where I work with both, which is really exciting, and a lot in that academic realm as well. And so getting a sense, okay, do I want to work more in the academic realm? Because there are folks who, one of my greatest contacts and one of my professionals that I work with all the time, she specifically works in the College of Agricultural and Life Sciences for career and alumni programming. So she doesn't even work in our career center, but she provides a lot of great support in that way. Our career center has about 30 staff members. The last institution I worked for, there's 2. So it's also important to check out like institutional size. We also have business career services, and Carnegie Mellon, where I went for undergrad, had career services for information systems and business. So even checking out the various career centers on one campus as well, not just the centralized one, can be really helpful. Lastly, a lot of these roles are posted on higher ed jobs. So building an account on higheredjobs.com can be really helpful, and you can filter it for location and for career services, or for example, even academic services, to make that specific so you can find a role that's similar in advising and coaching.
I wrote that down so I can add it to the thread after we're done.
Perfect.
And then for people that were considering a career as a career coach for a university, they're trying to figure out what the salaries and everything would be. You know, I think we talked before, you said that they can look that up if they're a public institution, right?
Yes, 100%. I'm a state employee, I'm a public employee. And so, I mean, now you know my name, I suppose, or don't know my full name, haha. But you can definitely search not only mine, but other salaries, and even get a sense of like, you know, what promotion looks like, progression, advancement in the organization looks like, so public institutions. But as I mentioned to you before, a lot of private institutions also hire career coaches. And so a lot of that, if you're looking into salary, if you're looking into benefits, it's important to network, build relationships, build trust, to the point where you can ask some more of those like questions that are a little bit stigmatized in our culture, right? Asking about salary in that way, just so that you put yourself in the best foot and that you are able to get a salary that not only allows you to like survive in the lifestyle that you want, but to really live and thrive.
So I guess my last question, do you think a career counselor, you know, the military has a lot of career counselors that spend their entire careers advising service members how to grow their careers. Do you think that there's some kind of correlation between the career counselor fields and what you do straight out of the military, or is this something where they have to get additional experience? Just your opinion.
I think there's a lot of transferable skills for sure. A lot of it with project management, a lot of it with handling and managing different tasks. For example, I don't only do things for my college, but I'll have tasks coming from our center in general. That's something that supports the whole center. And so that kind of sense of unity as a team is really crucial. Being able to talk about that and that experience is crucial. I think there's just in general a lot with advising, coaching, and mentoring. So even when we interview folks for this role, we don't say, tell us about your career coaching experience. We say, tell us about the time when you advised someone and that created a lot of change for them, right? So even not precluding yourself from being able to apply just because you don't yet know career theories. These are things that you can definitely learn or even research ahead of time. There's a lot of really great textbooks on career counseling that have all the different theories that you can look up, that you can buy on Amazon or that you can borrow from the library, for example, that can help you get a leg up and can help you get a better sense as well. Is this what I want to be doing? Is this how I want to be engaging with folks to help them, whether they are just starting here in college or even a prospective high school student to adult learners of all ages, folks in their PhD who are 60 years old. That's a person that I coached last year. And so navigating, is this the type of work that I want to do? And so again, those informational interviews can make it a lot more clear. And I can imagine, actually, there are folks who work as career coaches in university who directly liaise with the Veterans Office at the same university. So those might be good folks to start off with to connect with.
So can I say, I can already tell you're a fantastic career coach. That was the nicest answer, where you answered everything, but like I would have been like, you're missing stuff.
Okay.
You know, like there are going to be gaps, you have to overcome it. And, you know, you explained all the positive things they could do to make themselves more competitive. So if I went to the University of Florida, I would want you to be my career coach. I think you did. This has been an amazing session. I learned so much. If people want to reach out to you to learn more or to learn more about agriculture and life sciences at University of Florida, are you open to them connecting with you on LinkedIn?
Oh, 100%. You can definitely connect with me. Just feel free to leave a note, mention that you were in this session for sure. I'm glad I could be helpful. Hopefully, as you mentioned, I did answer your questions fully. And I want to be a support to anyone who's thinking about this career, or even any type of career in higher education, just because that's where my experience mainly lies.
And then veterans as well, since you had your time with SVA.
Oh yeah, completely. Yes, I learned so much from that experience, and definitely, I think really positively to it. I often, when I think about my experience in grad school, I think about like just chilling in the Veterans Center, going bowling, and helping them really actually, in some ways, I was just standing back because they were just crucially advocating for themselves. They often had the president of the university or the vice president of student affairs at their meetings to really listen to them in their first person experiences.
Not surprising at all. Well, Sammie, we're over 30 minutes. Someday I'll get under 30 minutes. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but
one day.
There's always hope. But thank you so much for spending time with us today, and for all you do to help people find their next careers.
Yes, thank you so much as well, especially like these types of sessions where you're able to educate folks about careers. It's important to redo these every few years, especially during COVID, because even 5 years ago, being a project manager was completely different, right? Being a career coach was completely different.
Yeah, no, and this will be archived on our Higher Military YouTube page. So if anybody wants to watch it or share it with anybody else, they can just do it there. So thanks again, Sammie. Stay safe. It's good to hear the construction's done.
I know.
And have a great day.
Awesome. You too. Thank you, everyone.
Yep. Bye-bye.